The forest was a cathedral of ancient pines and shifting shadows, a place where Gabby and Coco always felt most alive. On that fateful morning, the air was crisp, and the sunlight filtered through the canopy in long golden shafts. Gabby, with her boundless golden energy, and Coco, the observant and loyal partner, led the way. It was supposed to be a simple walk, a shared moment of peace. But in the wild, peace can turn to chaos in a heartbeat. The shattered peace, the transformation from joy to terror, happened in an instant. Driven by a flash of movement in the underbrush, Gabby lunged into a thicket. There was a sudden rustle, a sharp, panicked yelp, and then a deafening silence. When Gabby emerged, my heart stopped. Her muzzle was a pincushion of sharp, barbed porcupine quills, each one a needle of pain embedded deep in her skin. Adrenaline took over, erasing everything else from my mind. The rush home was a blur of heavy breathing and frantic prayers. Once inside, the kitchen became a makeshift trauma ward. I had to be strong, my hands shaking as I began the grueling task of extracting the needles. Every flinch from Gabby felt like a sting to my own soul, her wide eyes searching mine for an explanation for the pain. Once the visible quills were out, we raced to the hospital. The vet checked for hidden fragments and prescribed antibiotics to ward off infection. By the time we returned home, the house felt heavy with the scent of antiseptic and the lingering vibration of a high-stress trauma. Gabby was exhausted, and I was emotionally spent. The realization, it wasn't until 3 days later, as the fog of panic finally began to lift, that I reached for my jacket and felt a hollow emptiness. My keys were gone. They were somewhere in the vast, leaf-strewn floor of the forest, dropped in the exact moment my world had narrowed down to Gabby's cry. The thought of finding them was overwhelming. They were buried under miles of shifting needles and damp loam. In my exhaustion, I realized I didn't just lose my keys. I had lost my sense of security. I looked at Coco. We had spent hours playing search games in the yard, hiding toys or treats for him to find. To him, it had always been a game of hide and seek. But as I looked into his bright, attentive eyes, I wondered if those games had been training him for something much greater. The command of trust. We returned to the site of the ambush. The forest felt colder now, the silence more imposing. I knelt in the dirt, eye to level with Coco. I didn't have a spare key to give him the scent, so I had to rely on the only thing that linked us to that spot, the memory of the trauma. I looked him in the eye, my voice trembling with the weight of the last few days, and gave the command. Gabby, search.
Coco, Gabby, search.
I wasn't asking him to find a toy. I was asking him to find the trail of that frantic moment, the scent of his sister's fear, and the metallic tang of the keys that had fallen unnoticed in the struggle. The hero's path. Coco didn't bark or hesitate. He lowered his head, his nostrils flaring as he sifted through a million forest scents. Then, he bolted. He didn't follow the human-made paths. He dove straight into the dark heart of the woods, crashing through ferns and disappearing into the dense timber. I stood alone, feeling the vastness of the woods pressing in. Minutes felt like hours. Then, I heard the rhythmic crunch of dry leaves. Coco emerged from the deep woods, not with the playful bounce of a puppy, but with the steady, purposeful stride of a dog on a mission. He stopped at my feet and let out a soft clink. There, dropped onto the moss, were the keys. They were cold and stained with earth, but they glinted like diamonds in the dim light. The unspoken bond. I collapsed onto the forest floor, pulling Coco into a massive, tearful hug. He stood as a silent pillar of strength, his tail giving a single, slow wag. In the eyes of the world, he is a dog who found a lost object. But to me, he is a guardian. He had seen the distress of the past 3 days, and had been waiting for the chance to fix it. Gabby had the scars of a survivor, but Coco had the spirit of a seeker. He isn't just a smart dog. He is the bridge that brought our family back to peace. Coco, the real hero of the forest, who always helps in everything.